Tonight on In Your Interest, in Rajasthan, a school allegedly operating out of a cowshed becomes the center of a political confrontation after the Cockroach Janta Party workers are stopped, chased away, allegedly attacked as well. They're saying it was the BJP goons that did it. Now, was this a clash with the locals, the villagers, or is there something more to it? Then we shift our focus to Shillong, the Meghalaya-Assam border. In Shillong, a black flag KSU rally that turned violent. Vehicles were vandalized and leaders have been arrested. And the fallout is now spilled across the Assam-Meghalaya border region, leaving tourists and passengers and all those cabs that plied stranded. And then finally, in Chamoli, a stray dog menace that has become so serious that 10 schools have to shut, putting the spotlight on a very real question. How do you protect the children whilst also dealing responsibly with the stray dog challenge across the country? So we've got three stories with one common question, which is when the system is under pressure, who ends up paying the price? We decode the facts, the fallout, and the politics behind all of those. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. First, the top headlines. Big win for Rahul Gandhi as the Delhi police registers an FIR against unidentified individuals for pellet gun firing during the 20th June protests. FIR has been filed under BNS sections 118 and 125. Two vessels carrying a total of 22 Indian nationals hijacked in separate incidents off Yemen and Somalia. The Ministry of External Affairs says India is in touch with the concerned authorities, confirms that all crew members are reportedly safe. Andhra Pradesh MP's son booked after his Aston Martin allegedly killed a 26-year-old mall employee in Hyderabad. Maharashtra Food and Drug Administration suspends the FSSAI license of McDonald's and Radio Club outlets in Kolaba after a re-inspection found multiple food safety and hygiene violations.
गाड़ियों के शीशे फोड़े गए हैं, पत्थरबाजी हुई है, हमारी महिलाओं पे बुजुर्गों ने पत्थर मारे हैं।
अगर 48 आवर्स के अंदर उस स्कूल को ठीक कराने का काम शुरू नहीं किया जाता है, उन गुंडों को अरेस्ट नहीं किया जाता है, तो मैं खुद जयपुर आऊंगा और स्कूल के सामने बैठा रहूंगा जब तक स्कूल को ठीक कराने का काम शुरू नहीं किया जाता है।
A government school in Rajasthan is operating from a cowshed. Yes, you heard that right. And that is not a political claim. That is the picture emerging from Rampura, Kanwarpura in Jaipur rural, where a dilapidated school building has been shut and classes are now being conducted under a tin shed on premises normally used to house cattle. And today, when the Cockroach Janta Party went there to inspect and document the situation, the story moved from education to confrontation real quick. A clash broke out between CGP workers and people opposing their visit. The CGP says its workers were attacked by BJP-backed goons, is what the party says. It alleges injuries, damage to their vehicles, to the ladies and women that were part of the team that was visiting the schools, and an attempt to stop them altogether from exposing the condition of the school at large. The government has a very different version at this point in time. The government's argument is that local villagers themselves opposed the CGP visit. It had nothing to do with the party or party-backed goons, quote-unquote. that they did not want the school issue to be politicized and that the CJP team was chased out. It was forced to leave. So we have two competing narratives here and one very uncomfortable school at the center of it all. The Cockroach Janta Party's Abhijeet, Dipke and Ashutosh Ranka have now issued a 48-hour ultimatum, a fresh deadline from the Cockroach Janta Party. And Ashutosh Ranka, the co-convener of CJP, says if repair work does not begin and those responsible for these alleged attacks are not arrested, he will call people to Jaipur for a larger agitation, just like the one we saw at Jantar Mantar. But there is another layer to this story as well. Hold on. Just days before this confrontation, the Rajasthan government introduced restrictions on outsiders entering government schools. There was a proper circular. Prior permission was required. Photography, videography, interviews, live streaming involving students particularly and the school activities also now require written clearance. The government says this is about children's safety, their privacy and dignity. Critics, however, say it could also make independent scrutiny of government schools much harder. And that brings us to the real question. If a school is genuinely functioning in a cowshed, who should be allowed to expose it? If the government says 12 lakh rupees has already been sanctioned for repairs, then where is the repair work? If villagers genuinely opposed the Cockroach Janta Party visit, was today's confrontation simply a local backlash? And if the Cockroach Janta Party is right about political mobilization behind the crowd, who organized it and why? Because somewhere between the cowshed, the clash and the new restrictions and of course the 48-hour ultimatum, the children themselves risk becoming the smallest voice in this entire argument. So tonight, we've got credible voices with us on the broadcast. We're going to try and separate the school crisis from the political claims and ask who is protecting the children and who is protecting the system and who is actually willing to fix the school. We've got some reactions and then I'll introduce my panelists to you.
अभी हमने थोड़ी देर पहले देखा कि कैसे आशु और उनकी टीम को बीजेपी के गुंडों ने मारा और पीटा। और ये गुंडागर्दी क्यों हुई? क्योंकि एक भैंस के तबेले में बच्चों को पढ़ाया जा रहा था जिसका एक्सपोज आज आशु करने वाला था। तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि अगर 48 आवर्स के अंदर उस स्कूल को ठीक कराने का काम शुरू नहीं किया जाता है, उन गुंडों को अरेस्ट नहीं किया जाता है, तो मैं खुद जयपुर आऊँगा और स्कूल के सामने बैठा रहूँगा जब तक स्कूल को ठीक कराने का काम शुरू नहीं किया जाता है। और आप सभी लोगों से भी मैं रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, अगर ये लोग हमारी बात नहीं मानते तो आप सभी लोग आइए जयपुर और हम जयपुर में वैसे ही बैठेंगे जैसे हम जंतर मंतर पर बैठे हुए थे और पीछे नहीं हटेंगे। और इसके साथ जो सर्कुलर निकाला है जिसमें लिखा गया है कि कोई भी टूटी हुई स्कूल्स का फोटो ना निकाले, वीडियो ना निकाले, उस सर्कुलर को वापस लिया जाए। और बीजेपी वालों से मैं खास करके कहना चाहता हूँ, हम पर चाहे जितने अटैक कर लो, चाहे जितने हमले कर लो, लेकिन हम पीछे नहीं हटेंगे। वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू बैक ऑफ। स्कूल तो हम ठीक करा कर ही रहेंगे।
आज पूरे देश ने भाजपा की गुंडागर्दी लाइव देखी है। पुलिस को पता था वहां पर पत्थरबाजी पहले से हो रही थी, फिर भी पुलिस ने हाथ खड़े कर दिए। पुलिस ने बोला कि हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, ये आपका मैटर है। ये सब कुछ मदन दिलावर के कहने पर हुआ है। हमारे वॉलंटियर्स के हाथ तोड़े गए हैं, ट्यूब में ये लोग पत्थर निकाल कर बैठे थे। गाड़ियों के शीशे आप देख सकते हैं, गाड़ियों के शीशे फोड़े गए हैं, पत्थरबाजी हुई है। हमारी महिलाओं पे बुजुर्गों ने पत्थर मारे हैं, उनसे गुंडागर्दी की है, उनके फोन तोड़े हैं, हमारे वॉलंटियर्स के हाथ तोड़े गए हैं। पूरी तरह से ये सुनियोजित था, ये मदन दिलावर के कहने पर हुआ है। 48 घंटे का समय दे रहे हैं, ये सारे गुंडे अरेस्ट होने चाहिए और आप ऑर्डर विड्रॉ कीजिए, नहीं तो अभी आंदोलन शिक्षा से बढ़कर मदन दिलावर पे जाएगा। 48 घंटे का समय है, हम तुम्हारी गुंडागर्दी से डरने वाले लोग नहीं है। शर्म आनी चाहिए तुम लोगों को। भैंसों के तबेले में स्कूल चल रहा है। 1 साल पहले भी मैं इस स्कूल जाके आया था, तब भी ये स्कूल भैंसों के।
मुझे जानकारी नहीं है, लेकिन मेरे को कुछ लोगों ने कहा है कि वहाँ के लोगों ने विद्यालय की सुरक्षा की है। और मैं सभी राजस्थान के वासियों से, शिक्षा प्रेमियों से कहना चाहता हूँ कि क्योंकि विद्यालय में अपने बच्चे पढ़ते हैं, अच्छी शिक्षा उनको मिलना चाहिए। और जैसा राजस्थान सरकार को कोशिश करे कि गुणवत्तापूर्वक शिक्षा मिले, संस्कार युक्त शिक्षा मिले, वो मिलना चाहिए। उसमें किसी प्रकार का व्यवधान नहीं होना चाहिए। और अपने विद्यालयों की।
With us on the broadcast, Professor C.V. Sharma, educationist, Ravisha, who's a citizen activist, and Mr. Pranay Agarwal, a political analyst. Many thanks for taking on the time, ladies and gentlemen. You see, first and foremost, Ravisha, I'm going to come to you. The CJP, the Cockroach Janta Party, is calling this an attack by the quote-unquote BJP-backed goons. I mean, from all the visuals that we have, from all the visuals that are doing the rounds on social media and, you know, have been put across by corroborated media houses as well, what is the strongest evidence that is coming out that this was politically organized rather than a spontaneous confrontation with the villagers? Because the BJP says that these were local villagers that themselves chased the CGP out.
Okay, so thank you for having me on the show. But this is a very, this is just common sense. This is nothing up for debate. When someone's coming to improve the situation of a particular region, improve their schools, why would the locals oppose it? Which is especially when their kids are having to go to school in a cow shed, in a buffalo shed. Are you really telling me that the locals would oppose for a development or someone fighting for their development? It is extremely nonsensical. But now, if I have to speak on facts regarding this, there are images that have surfaced of the goons associated to the BJP party, and these images serve as evidence enough to claim that these are goons from the BJP party or sent by the BJP party and not the locals themselves. I mean, if the debate be so, why are CJP members not allowed to even talk to them? Why is there no dialogue discussion happening? This is just a common sense question. You see, shouldn't even be up for debate. So it's extremely an illogical argument put forth by the BJP. They can do better.
No, I'll tell you why this is up for a little bit of debate, because the Rajasthan government issued that circular. We can talk about, the legitimacy of that circular. We can also talk about whether that circular was the right step or not, but it was a circular nonetheless. And it says that, filming, videography, interviewing, all of this needs prior clearance. So did the CGP have any prior clearance? Because, of course, we did not see any cop action or the Rajasthan police, being deployed there, which Abhijeet Dipke himself said, is acting like a quote-unquote mute spectator. But this is why we're talking about it. There is prior, clearance that now needs to be taken.
Okay, so with regards to the circular that has come out, it has only come out after CJP has made an announcement that we will go and we will inspect this particular school. And it's only after that when the circular has come out. Now, we see in several occasions where the politicians actually go for ribbon cutting. They actually go like they're probably improving the situation of the school. And how come the same circular has not been issued at those circumstances, at those instances? And why there is a circular that's only being issued when CJP is going to inspect these schools? I mean, if you are trying to impose the IT or the POXO Act, stating that this is for the security of the children, why is it not done in other circumstances and other situations as well? Why is it the same circular or law not applied when the politicians are going for a ribbon cutting? Why are you issuing a circular only after CJP's announcement? Isn't the safety, if you're talking about safety of children, do you think educating them in a buffalo shed is talking about safety? It's not making any sense.
No, pertinent questions. Mr. Agarwal, what's your take here? Because let's forget the Cockroach Janta Party for a moment. Is it acceptable to the state government that children are studying in a cowshed, even if it is temporarily?
Absolutely, Kabir. So the way I look at it, it's not so much a political issue as much it is an administrative failure. And the most disturbing picture today has not been the CJP activists or Ashutosh Ranka being chased or violence being used against them, deplorable as it is, but it is the images of children being taught next to cattle. I mean, in a bhains ka tabela, God's sake.
Yeah.
Political parties and activists, I mean, let them trade allegations. Yeah, that's fine. But the very fundamental question is that why was not an alternative classroom provided or arranged immediately after the building had been declared unsafe? And the circular that the Rajasthan government has put out, I mean, I would say the most shameful and deplorable. I mean, to prevent youth, concerned citizens and activists from, reporting and going to schools. I mean, it is more than shameful. If you have done good work, you show the work and make activists and concerned citizens partners rather than see them as opposition. इससे ज़्यादा वही बात क्या हो सकती है? Right? So there are two separate issues, Kabir. One is, and I would say none should be allowed to obfuscate the other. One is the condition of these schools. And the second is the violence against the CJP activists. And the second issue is secondary, and it was because of the first. I say, let us assume that CJP had malintentions or is anti-BJP or whatever. That still does not excuse the condition of the schools. And why should basic administrative failure require a political or a civil campaign? Any unsafe school would have been identified by administration on its own and repaired through routine departmental monitoring. Yeah. Right? If activists have to visit and show it to the world, and then there has to be a statewide agitation, then only will official inspection remedial will be taken. Then ऐसे education system का मतलब ही
that is a little bit of a a sorry state of affairs. It is a shameful situation, needless to speak of. But I think Professor Sharma is with us on the broadcast. We've been decoding student-related issues for for the longest time now. Many thanks again for taking out the time and speaking to us here on News 9.
My privilege.
Professor Sharma, you see, I think we made it quite clear last time around that, there are pros and cons of this Rajasthan circular, that when it comes to, any Tom, Dick and Harry entering school premises under the garb of activism or, trying to really find out what can really fix these schools, there is the child safety, there is the privacy of the child. Several parents that we spoke to clearly said a big no-no to this. Not everybody can come in with their cameras and, start recording and filming everything. But what's your take on what we saw in, in rural Jaipur today? This is much more than just confrontation. Vandalism, car glasses were smashed. Abhijeet, Dipke and Ashutosh, Ranka saying that the women in the team, they were also assaulted. So this is going a little bit out of hand, would you say so?
This issue has two aspects. One is the academic aspect. Institutions have been safeguarded against such visits, not only schools, even colleges and universities. It has been long tradition of education. No one will enter the premises without the permission of the head of the institution, the vice chancellor in the case of the university, the principal of the college in the case of colleges, and school principal in the case of school. So I would be standing in favor of the school principal, who has to give you permission to enter. Nobody should enter the school without the permission of the school.
I agree, Professor. But in this case, there was barely any school.
Wait. No, wait. Let me complete. Not even the superintendent of police or the district collector. Nobody is allowed to enter. Now, for a minute, Kabir, let me tell you, I have come to know there are serious irregularities in News 9, and I'm coming to radio office tomorrow, and we will see that the people are not exploited, your employees are not exploited. Who am I? How can I do that? So don't declare yourself self-pride leaders or inspectors. Now, as an academic, I will tell you a few things. The right to education gives that right, and every school has a school management committee, SMC. We should try and make sure the SMCs are active and they are functional, their meetings are held. 1. 2. The CBSE or the school board make it compulsory that you put all information on the website. Do a survey of the websites and ask that question under RTI. Become an RTI specialist. Don't try to become inspectors. See, academically, these are two stands. Don't raid a school, don't interfere.
I understand, Professor. I understand. And point taken. Point taken.
The second issue. The CJP is trying to become a political party, and political clashes are of this nature. So one is trying to guard the,
But Professor, the minute you say, firstly, what's wrong with the political party coming and, really putting the school to a scrutiny test? And secondly, when you say that this is a political clash, then that means that the other side was actually also political, not apolitical, which is what the education minister here says. Because there have been a lot of fact checks done by these CGP leaders on social media as well. We've had to corroborate them. We couldn't, which is why we're not flashing them on our screens. But, social media is aghast and abuzz with all those fact checks as well. I'm trying to understand. I agree that you're standing with the principal and your academic point, well noted and well taken. But there was no school. There were no walls. People are sitting and kids are sitting right next to buffaloes over there, which is, needless to say, quote unquote, shameful. All our heads should hang in shame for our students having to, learn their lessons
Kabir, have I ever been shy?
At a cowshed.
No, wait a minute.
It's
have I ever been shy, or I have minced my words in saying that the school education is in a pathetic condition in this country, and we need to take care of that. But there are methods and ways to do it. I cannot claim that suddenly I am the inspector. There are methods and there are regulations which are in place. We should try and make them effective. I have said on this on this platform yesterday. I think
yes,
a few
absolutely,
days back,
absolutely,
the
Professor.
minister is head of the school education. We should go out of it. I think there should be some policy changes. Instead of taking law in hand, you will lose the war. I will tell you, even if you go to Kerala and fight, you go to Tamil Nadu and fight, see now what is happening in Jharkhand. The Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and the student agitators are, standing against each other. Initially, it was thought that Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is supporting the Jantar Mantar. Now face it in Ranchi. I would say keep education out of politics. As soon as you do politics, politics will be handled by political tools. You are facing this because you made it political. Don't make it political. My stand is the schools are in a bad shape. The minister happens to be the head of school education in all states and the central government. Bring it out of the government. Create a apolitical, independent regulator for school education through an act of parliament.
Yeah.
Let me quickly add, you are
tall
creating a
claims,
Viksit
but
Bharat
Professor,
Rajasthan.
all of these are tall claims. It's going to take so much time when you have something as effective as, you know, the youth out there hitting the streets and asking for their exact due, bringing the authorities to face them out there in the open. That's a much more effective way now, isn't it? Professor, I'm going to come back to you. We have enough time on this segment. You know, Ravisha, the CJP and its leaders have both given the government a new deadline. And this new ultimatum is also a new, trend that's come about. It's working for the Cockroach Janta Party. It's a trend here. It's a trend there. The drunk principal also had to put in their papers. Dipke was sitting right there. And now Dipke is saying, he's threatening rather, that he's going to come and sit right outside that school until unless work begins on fixing the premises in the next 48 hours. What do you think are going to be the non-negotiables here? What happens if on hour 49 these demands are not met? Are we again looking at a Jantar Mantar sort of a situation taking place in Jaipur?
Right. Kabir, don't you think that it's a very lovely trend to have come into existence? Because it's totally working as a catalyst in making sure that if there is an issue, that issue is actually being addressed, right? So that's point number one.
But Ravisha, things also go a little bit out of hand. I'm not in the business of using adjectives, so I'm going to steer clear from that. But it is a trend. Whether it's a lovely trend or not, only time will tell. But things do get a little bit out of hand as well. Because we've got Saurav Das who says from the ramparts of the Supreme Court that there were 2,500 or so identified history sheeters, people who had, those hardened criminals that were part of that protest.
Kabir, we need to understand that things have already gotten out of hand when children are studying in a cowshed. Okay, so that is why this whole chaos is now erupted. If the education system was as idealistic as we want it to per se be, then I don't think today I would also have been here on this debate for now. Now, when we talk about, who gets to go, who gets to inspect these schools, don't you think that they should have already had a certain amount of functioning or whatever that is? Right now, the BJP party or the chief minister of Rajasthan, them coming and saying that, but we have deployed, we have sanctioned 300 crores for repair of these schools. This is not, fresh news that we're having to see. Formerly, 175 crores have already been deployed and they have been sanctioned, but they have not been deployed for improving this condition of these schools. And just last year, when we look at it, there was a damage that has happened as a result of which 7 children died in these schools. When we're talking about casualties because of poor infrastructure, then 100% they're going to be whistleblowers. Kabir, and we need to understand that it's been exactly or more than a year since something like this has happened. And even the High Court had to come and take so much cognizance of this issue. And after this issue, Kabir, I would like to tell you that the High Court has mentioned that based on whatever budgets have been given to the repair of these government schools that we have, every school is getting only 5 lakh rupees for repair. You tell me, in today's economy, what is 5 lakhs even going to do to repair these schools? 41,000 schools are in shambles in Rajasthan, and we have the budget sanction only for 2,000 schools. So what is the state of the balance? 39,000. When these questions are not being answered, then anything about wanting to do it in a structured manner or there is this official who is going to look into this set of affairs is in a very idealistic and a very dystopian mindset, if I have to look at it that way. If we are all coming in as whistleblowers, we are coming and flagging this issue because the governance has been an absolute failure.
Well, Professor, that's a direct counter to what you were saying, because I agree with what you're saying. Your idea and the ideation looks really great on paper, but it might be a little, when it comes to implementing the same, it might be a little dystopian, just like Ravisha was pointing out. So I'm going to come back to you. Maybe you can answer that. But I've got another guest. Let me bring in Pranay as well. Pranay, you see, the school, the Cockroach Janta Party says, was being hidden from scrutiny. We've seen similar instances, little, hue and cry, little sticking points and flashpoints in Maharashtra as well. Not everybody is, the example that Professor Sharma gave us, if tomorrow somebody comes to News 9, blaring their cameras, will we be open to, letting them come in? By the way, everything's absolutely bona fide here. I welcome all of you to come here and check everything out. But Pranay, see, the Cockroach Janta Party says that school was being hidden from scrutiny. The government says 12 lakh rupees was already sanctioned for the school. A lot of, figures that were quoted by Ravisha as well. Isn't it incumbent on the person who's bringing the camera, who's doing this scrutiny, to independently verify where that money has gone, whether that money has been used for construction, what really happened to the repair work, has that been initiated or is it going to be initiated? All of those things are also, important to look at before you traverse and navigate the gray area and stir a storm in a teacup when you know there are already too many sips between the cup and the lip.
Kabir, firstly, what the Honorable Professor Sharma said, government schools are public property. They are not the private property of a, corporate organization. I would say, I would advise the Rajasthan government, they should maybe modify the order that schools and tabele are not open public scrutiny. But more serious note, government should not misuse this concern for student security to impose a blanket curtain over the schools, right? Entry can definitely and should be perhaps regulated to protect children and prevent classes ki disruption. But prior permission cannot become an instrument hiding the broken state of infrastructure and buildings and missing toilets or unsafe classrooms, which is there, right? So the solution should be to have transparency protocols in place for visits, rather than complete opacity and a complete blanket ban. And this thing, the CJP did not have any official inspection powers. Of course, it did not, right? Let us consider it a fact-finding visit or a social audit. The absence of official inspection power does not deprive citizens or journalists or political peace for that from the right to document.
So what's your take here? Pranay, if I were to ask you, was this a targeted attack, assault, whatever you want to call it, or was this spontaneous pushback by the locals/villagers? What really was it?
I don't see any rationale or logic for the local people to be attacking a citizens group who is trying to highlight the deficiencies in the schools where their own children are studying. Having said that, I am no person to sit in judgment whether, as the CJP alleges, it was the BJP goons who did it, or was it politically motivated, or that needs to be done by local police administration. Police cannot remain a mute spectator just because there are political connotations, right? So a very thorough investigation has to be launched in the violence and the whole allegations that the CJP is making.
And about you, your assessment about modifying that Rajasthan circular, that Rajasthan order. The government says that the new permission and these new rules, the clearance rules, the norms, they actually end up protecting the children. It's for the children out there. What's your take on that? It's talking about child safety and privacy. Pranay.
A concern for children's safety is very much order, Kabir, and but he's denying that. Sure, even activists, citizens, journalists would also cooperate when it comes to that. But the timing of the circular is very suspect. Right?
money? Why is it not spent on education? I have mentioned this a few days back. Ask that question. Ask under RTI. There should be equal education, and the national education policy also says that. Read NEP 2020 chapter 5. Read 1 to 4 chapter, and you will get all the ideas what government should do. It's its own policy. I have been speaking against the system of education. Look, there is no regulatory system on school education. We should fight for that. As soon as we get into an activism, and I have heard at least 20 times all my panelists and other statements have said, BJP, BJP, BJP. You have made it clear you stand against BJP. Now it is political. You will have to handle it politically. And those states which have a government, go to Kerala and shout against the Congress or the left and see what you will face. Don't make it political. My suggestion to my younger colleagues is, don't make it political. As soon as you make it political, you will face this. And Dipke says, I will personally go. Are you Gandhi? You will go personally. If police is withdrawn and something happens, who will take care? Don't become inspectors. Don't become police. Don't become army. You have your own channels. Use RTI. Use your social media. Use your power to ask questions. And with regard to NEP 2020, read NEP 2020. I'm an author of it. We have brought in many sections which give this right to school children. Why have the teachers of the Anganwadi not been trained in these 6 years? The NEP said this, that you are putting poor children, the less privileged children in Anganwadi, where you have no infrastructure. Ask the government this question. Why has the government not done it in 6 years? What happened to the training of teachers of Anganwadi? There are enough scope, Kabir, to do it legally. But what I believe is that those who are taking up the
clearly, Professor,
making it political.
From what I'm understanding, from what you're trying to bring to the table, clearly the intent has been missing from the administration. That intent is missing. The money may be lying there, but is it being put to use? That's a big question. And I think that's where the CJP scores a little bit of point, because you've cited all of those mechanisms, namely RTI as one of those examples. But, you know, these trends of protests and, you know, sit-ins and dharnas, it's actually acting like a catalyst and it's getting the work done. Maybe there are more takers for this, and that's the only reason why. Is it right or wrong? I'm nobody to, you know, judge particularly that. Neither am I, like I mentioned, in the business of using adjectives. Ravisha, you see, before we wrap up this segment, my final question to you and Pranay as well. If the CJP is right about political mobilization behind the crowd, people are asking who's organized and why. That can be a separate question, because maybe the children themselves, because of all of this political one-upmanship, is becoming the smallest voice in the entire argument, and that is a credible concern.
Right. I don't think that the children are becoming the smallest voice, and even if so be it, I feel like it's largely happening because unfortunately this is getting politicized. Even I am in accordance with sir that don't politicize education. That has been our loudest cry since forever. That education should be the last thing that any government should politicize. Now, having said that, even the Jharkhand protest that has happened, it did happen anti-BJP, right? If you think about it. So the stance has been extremely clear that we are fighting for free, fair, quality education for everybody in India. Now, there's a vast difference between the government announcing of schemes versus those schemes actually being realized. Now, even when we talk about, now Sir has mentioned RTI. Now, even for PM Cares, we couldn't even apply RTI and, you know, audit it. So that is the whole status of RTI per se. Now, every time we have PM Cares, we have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, we have all of these programs and plans and policies coming out year after year. But when we talk about implementation of these things is where there is a huge void and a huge gap. And I absolutely don't see any fault in CJP. I, for one, I am not a CJP member, okay? But I am in accordance with what they're trying to do, because we are against the governance per se. We are not against the government, or we're not trying to be against BJP or anybody. If any government is being inadequate in delivering their promises, there needs to be a certain body that is doing the questioning. Now, CJP has helped mobilize people and question in groups of people.
Okay.
Now, I don't see anything wrong with the existence or the questioning of the government's policies.
All right, okay. Pranay, I'm going to give you the final say here on the show. That line
Kabir,
that
I
we've been
would
trying
say
to
that,
decode, that where should that line be drawn between protecting children's privacy and allowing the citizens, the journalists, the civil society groups, the Cockroach Janta Party team, let's add that to the list, to come and document the conditions inside a government school? Because this is all boiling down to who can enter and who can film and who can put the school infrastructure to scrutiny.
I will differ on that last count, Kabir. It is children's safety is being used as a ploy, as a cover to deny citizens an insight into what's really happening in government schools. You know, political attention, media theatre, all of this will last one day or two.
But I'll tell you what, Pranay, just to act as a devil's advocate very quickly, you see, an open camera is a big weapon these days. And children, the minors out there with the kind of content that's doing the rounds on dark web and social media, I mean, entire governments are now mulling whether to restrict social media use as well. Even though on the other hand, you've got Bharatiya Janata Party that's given an amazing youth pivot with their own social media rankings for all the netas as well. But you see, an open camera is a big, huge weapon. So when the parents, and I've been speaking to parents myself, I'm giving you actual examples, instances where parents have said, we are not okay with anybody coming in, opening their camera and filming our kids' activities inside the school.
Kabir, I would say government administration with confident of work, they would welcome scrutiny rather than stonewalling it. They should have published the sanction order, the inspection report, photographs, construction timelines on their own, so that citizens and journalists and activists not have to do the reporting themselves. It is because the administration lacking in all these fronts that citizens are compelled to highlight these lacunae in the education system, right? And attempts to prevent documentation creates the impression, clearly or wrongly, that the government has a lot to concede, right? What I am saying is that, you know, whether BJP attacked the CJP or whether CJP is politically motivated or not, all these can be determined by investigation. But what is very well settled is that these children, they are being failed by the system. So let's not fight, not allow a fight over politics of the incident take over there, you know, to make these children invisible once again.
That's a great segue for me to move out of this debate as well. And, you know, that's a great point that you've raised as well. The politics will continue. We pretty much politicize everything in this country. The allegations will continue and the blame game as well. But beyond all of that, the one question that should not get lost is why were children studying in a cowshed in the first place?
Definitely.
And when will they get a proper school? Because whether this was an attack, an assault, a confrontation or a political mobilization, the children should not become collateral in the politics of their school. Ravisha, Mr. Pranay and Professor Sharma, many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us here on News 9. All right then, a quick commercial breather here. Our second segment on the KSU Black Flag rally and the violence that ensued, and now Meghalaya and Assam border standing in that tit-for-tat one-upmanship. We're going to decode that, don't worry.
They have dared to embrace change. Experience meets innovation. They've seen opportunity in challenges. Clean, green and smart energy. A new infrastructure takes shape, transforming the energy landscape. A story of remarkable success. Junoon, said Jackson.
The fallout from the deadly